In this last section about covering the lob effectively, I'd like to talk about communication. And just as a quick review of all four main sections as a whole, we had the first section was about playing your position correctly, how close to get based on the position of every player on the court. We talked about identification and anticipation of lobs. We talked about footwork, and now communication, really, really key. And another part of this that might sound very basic and fundamental, and it kind of is, but it's a big difference between recreational players and high-level recreational players, average players and upper-level players, is communication. And I'm going to go down my outline very quickly here, and then we're going to look at actual examples of myself and Kyle putting these into practice. So communication, first of all, it has to be immediate. Immediately call out your intention as soon as you identify if you're taking it or you can't get it. Either way, either a positive or a negative statement, make it immediately, as soon as you can upon making your decision about what's going to happen. Be loud and firm. So don't be wishy-washy. Don't give one of these calls like "I got it" or "yours." I mean, don't make it a question. Make it a statement. Be firm about it and be loud about it. So make it very deliberate and loud, and just so that there's no question at all about what's about to happen in the points. It's really, really important. Thirdly, make some kind of call without exception. Don't assume. As soon as either you or your partner start to assume that the other player is going to have it, things start going poorly. I don't care how obvious you think it is that it's your partner's or how obvious you think it is that it's yours. Make some kind of a call every time the ball goes up into the air. Professional players, I went and watched a bunch of doubles. Last year, I went and saw the Legg Mason in Washington, D.C. I watched the Bryans play. I also watched them play at the U.S. Open. And every time a lob goes up, they're talking. They are twin brothers, for crying out loud. And they've been playing doubles with each other their entire lives. They have more doubles titles than any other team in history. You would think that they know what's going on, right? Don't they know who's going to take it by now? It doesn't matter. They communicate every time a lob goes up because it's good practice, meaning that it's just a good fundamental thing to do, period. So always, without exception, make a call. And lastly, repeat the call if necessary, or if you and your partner both say, "I got it," or you both say "yours." I think that's what players are most concerned about, is that happening. Then that's part of the reason why you do it immediately, so that you can then recommunicate and try to work it out. If it happens that your signals, Chris, they don't mix. You both shout something, it's the same thing. Well, you got to recommunicate and get going, and hopefully you communicated early enough the first time that you have time to work it out before the ball gets there. So let's now look at some examples. And normally I don't leave the audio up to go over points because we're looking at tactics, where to put ourselves on the court, shot selection, etc. Let me make sure the audio is up. Okay, here we go. So you guys are now going to hear examples of Kyle and myself doing exactly what I'm talking about. All right, a couple of calls there. And you can't hear the first one. I probably should have been louder. But as the baseline player back here gets to that lob and puts it up, he kind of stomps his foot, and he also alerts his partner to the fact that he's putting the lob up. But I call that very first one, even though it's coming right to me. After I put the deep volley in play, and by the way, look at how I'm reading this lob, because this baseline player is running backwards, the racket face is open. And I call this first one. You can't really hear it. I don't put it away. And then you can hear Kyle say "you." And he told me that because he was in a really offensive position. If we back up, you can see from here, he was going to have a hard time covering that one. He said "you." I said, "Okay," I confirmed it. I took it, and that allows Kyle to crouch down and get in that monster position to pop up in case I don't put this overhead away. So again, listen carefully. He says you, I say okay. I'm able to put the overhead away. All right, nice overhead by Kyle. Now here's a situation where it was clearly going to be Kyle's lob to take, and I communicate very loudly, kind of emphatically here. You, I've kind of got some communication behind that. I'm letting him know it's a tough shot. Better hustle for it, basically. And I'm turning around in case he doesn't go for it. I probably could have covered behind him, but I'm letting him know I can't take this out of the air. You take it, and he does some good hustle there to get that shot. So listen again. So very emphatically there, I'm letting him know you. That's all you.
Oh, Kyle!
Nice overhead, Kyle. All right, let's look at that one. I cut that one short because there were some bad words uttered after that overhead. So again, an example here of a very obvious one. Kyle with a nice fake. Returner tries the lob. At this point, clearly Kyle's going for it. I've got him. Well, this was a planned poach, so I'm starting to cross behind him anyway. But I'm letting him know it's all you, even though he clearly is there for it. So listen again. So nice take by Kyle. Good communication from myself. Again, obvious take, but I'm letting him know it's all you, and he takes it. All right, and 2 calls here. On the first one, again, a planned poach. I might not have been a planned poach, actually. It didn't look like Kyle was crossing for sure. Oh, no, it was. We planned this one out. But Kyle identifies right away that he's not going to be going back for it. And even though we planned for me to cover that side of the court, he still tells me that it's mine. So I'm able to hustle over there, take it out of the air, which is always the preference, to take it before it bounces. That's always priority number 1, because we're able to then stay in an offensive position. And then this one, not terribly obvious. Kyle makes a good athletic stab for that. But I tell him, listen, if you can reach it, you go for it, because I know he can put that away. So listen again. Kyle with the immediate call when he can't reach the first one. I tell him to take that. That was a little bit of an awkward shot by Kyle. He makes a good athletic move. And notice how I'm encouraging him to take this. I mean, he's having to jump and kind of take like a sky hook kind of behind the head overhead, which he puts away. But I'm telling him, take it. If he can take that, great. That's perfect. He's 10 feet closer to the net than I am. So I'm letting him know, if you can reach it, you take it. If he couldn't have reached it, he would have communicated right back, yours, instead of him going ahead and taking that shot out of the air. But that was a nice shot by Kyle. So again, the double communication. All right, 3 pieces of communication I want to point out on this point. First of all, we have a late call from the net player in black. He does not say yours until after he's already turned around. Player in blue here would have had an opportunity to take this out of the air. He just kind of hangs out here on his side of the court while this lob goes up in the air. He could have already been moving over here, but the net player doesn't decide until pretty late that he's not going to take it. And so that puts him and his partner in an awkward position, because now the ball has to bounce, and that gives Kyle and myself a big offensive opportunity. So watch and listen again as he calls it only after the ball is about to bounce. And that's just too late. So now look at Kyle and myself charging in like sprinters to get up there to the net. And that could have been avoided by communicating earlier and having the cover come behind and taking that shot out of the air. And so now we have a call from myself to take this first one. Kyle calls the second one, and I do some extra communication. I want you guys to notice this. This is something that might bug a lower level player because I'm kind of over communicating a little bit. But listen as Kyle calls it. He says, I got it. He says, me. I'm going to take it. And then listen to what I say. I say, take it, take it. And that might seem redundant. What I'm actually telling Kyle is this lob's going to be in. Take it out of the air. And so I'm communicating to him, don't let this go, because if it bounces, we're going to end up being just like our opponents were a second ago, with the lob bouncing, both of us turning around and running back behind the baseline, and that would give them an opportunity to move in and take over the net. So I'm telling him, take it, and he does. So again, I call this one. Kyle calls that one, and it wasn't that far back of a lob. But I'm letting them know, take it out of the air. Better example of this coming up next on the last example. But good communication there from Kyle and myself. Nice overhead, Kyle. And again, Kyle calls it, and I'm communicating here. I'm telling him, take it, take it, take it, take it. Kyle calls it. And by the way, look at how good of a job Kyle does getting back for this. Look at where he makes his split step. From here, he could easily reach out and touch the net. And watch how far back he goes. When this lob goes up, he turns. Now watch as he crosses over. Crosses over again. By this time, he's called it. Crosses over again. It takes the scissor kick overhead. Look at where he makes contact. Now, and look at where he touches down. Now, keep in mind, Kyle is 6'3". So he's a tall guy, and from where he makes contact with this, assuming that my call was correct and this was in fact going in, it would have landed, right next to the baseline. So had I not given him this information, he may have decided to let it bounce because it was going to be very close to the baseline, very close. And had it been in, we would have totally given up our offensive positions at the net. Since Kyle took it out of the air, look at how I'm able to stay hanging around the service line, and after he hits, I close in to try to take the next shot and put it away if it comes back. So because I communicated and told Kyle, yes, take it out of the air, it is going to go in, he was able to do that, and we could maintain our advantage. Now, on the flip side of that, if I thought it was going out, again, clearly that was going to be a very close lob. If I thought I was out by a foot and Kyle said, I got it, I would, and I thought I read it going out, I would say no, or let it go, or something like that, to tell him to leave it and let it go out so that we could just automatically win the points. But I'm communicating the opposite to him. I'm letting him know, take it, because it's going to be in. We need to take this out of the air to maintain our position on the courts. And some players might think that's kind of over communication. They might get bugged by me kind of yelling at them, take it, because like, well, Kyle could have thought to himself, well, obviously I'm going to take it. Trust me, Kyle appreciates that. And high-level players err on the side of over-communication, always. And so those of you who are watching need to put things like this into practice so that you can be more prepared on the courts, you can react more diligently, more quickly to shots in situations like this, and put yourselves in better positions on the court. Listen again as Kyle calls it. I got it. I confirmed to him, yes, take it. It's going to be in. So there you go. There's some good examples of communication on the courts. And this is a big difference. It seems like a very fundamental thing, and it is. But when you watch 3-5 players play doubles, these are the types of things that are missing. It's the communication with each other between points. It's the communication during points, calling shots, etc. This is absolutely a huge thing. If you start putting this and implementing this into your doubles game, I promise you, you will start seeing better results. It's very, very important.